So welcome everybody to another episode of our Humans in the Loop series. Today, I'm going to talk to Jonakee about partner management and how we can use AI in that role and just generally talk about AI in general. So welcome to the Google studios in London, Jonakee. Lovely to have you here.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so very much for inviting me. I know you and I have been talking about this for quite some time, so I'm really glad to be doing it today on camera.
Now, the last time we recorded, we were talking about how to use AI in SAP migrations, which was very technical focused. Now we're going to talk about how to use AI as sort of more of an end user in your experience. But what grabbed me about the last conversation is how you really put the end user sort of front of mind. And I think in SAP we have sort of an interesting eclectic group of end users, don't we? A lot of people have been in the industry for a number of years, some new people coming into it. So I'm kind of liking this this formula that the AI came up with. Let me try it on you. It's experience plus AI equals wisdom at scale. I say that a bit tongue in cheek, but what do you think about that and that sort of statement?
I think it makes a lot of sense because I really see AI as that sort of culmination of this long journey that software has been. And I think I've been in the industry long enough to know that there were times when we had to be very, very prescriptive with the software that we used. And certainly at SAP, when we found that there were, I mean, my 10 years with SAP, I found that there were customers that had been using the product and SAP and enterprise resource planning for 2 decades, sometimes even longer, which meant that it was possibly easy to become slightly set in your ways. But then all of these humans interacting with the system had a lot of experience. And I felt that that experience was gradually seeping into the data that becomes then the business contextual data, which becomes the training data that our large language models of AI, etc., are used on. So what you said about this being the experience plus the, or rather, this being sort of experience plus AI being wisdom at scale is exactly what it is, because that's where you bring to bear the experience and the computing power of AI in being able to go through a large amount of data in a very, very short amount of time is really giving you that edge. And that edge gives you the scalability of that wisdom. So I couldn't agree with you more when you say that.
I like that because, what you're saying is that the AI has inherently gleaned some wisdom and then combined with the wisdom that the person has been doing that job for 20, 30 years. I mean, my own personal experience with AI is if I ask it an open-ended question, I get a very generic answer. But the experience that I have to ask it the right question makes all the difference. And I think that's the opportunity for some of these users that maybe aren't using AI. But it's difficult to get motivated. I mean, I have my own motivations to sort of keep pressing at AI and keep sort of moving forward. So how do you find your motivation and excitement around AI? How do you sort of drive yourself forward every day to sort of investigate and learn more?
So I think, and it's a great question, because I think part of me is certainly driven by that intellectual curiosity. And the other part of me just thinks, oh, the efficiency gain here, I could spend days, and I'm one of those people, and I still read a lot, I go to the library, but I just feel that, all of that information is being brought to my fingertips without me having to ask lots of people or query lots of different systems. So I see the efficiency gain. And being very curious, I love to ask questions of AI and see what responses they come back with. And I absolutely believe in being that human in the loop. And I think it makes a lot of sense that my motivation, personally, is I feel I've always used Google, to query anything, to get me anywhere or to find out, about the best shops or the best restaurants in any given city. And now I've replaced that query with asking AI. Because in addition to giving me, so as I was, I was in Paris and I was asking about the best stationery shops, and I could have Googled that query, and instead I asked AI. and it synthesized that information. It knew what is sort of almost intuited by the way I had worded that query,
Mm.
that this is what I was after. And it kind of gave me all that peripheral information about, if you went to this shop, you would find this kind of, history. Or if you went to this shop, you would find that quirkiness and all of
Mm.
that. And I just kind of felt, look, I didn't have to script all of these questions.
Yeah.
It almost read my mind, but it didn't read my mind. Of course, it was the way I had phrased that question. So I know you and I have also done a little bit of work on, just prompt engineering and how
Yes.
important it is to word your questions in a way you elicit the best responses from the system. But yeah, I think that's my motivation. Is it's there for me. It's there to serve me. At the moment, it feels very optional, but it's free. Why won't I? I mean, what's not to love is what I ask people. I mean,
But in your role, I mean, you, from what you've said and what I know about the way you use AI, you use it as a tool,
yeah,
um,
absolutely.
and you view it as a tool. But it is a tool that's surrounded with loads of terms, like prompt engineering is a fancy way of saying how to phrase a question,
Yeah,
right?
it really
And you
is.
could have that in our conversation here. The way I phrase my questions now will make a big difference to how our conversation goes. It's no different. But I think sometimes do you feel that other people feel that there are barriers into this? How do other people that maybe aren't as excited about AI that you work with or have seen around, how do you think they feel about it?
I think I've seen sort of almost three categories of people. Some are enthusiastic about it, some are
Mm,
willing to adopt, but they maybe run businesses where they feel actually I need to lay the ground for it. And in order for me to sort of pave the way for, adoption of AI, I need to do X, Y, and Z, and they will become projects in their own right. And I'm talking about, some customers with whom I've perhaps interfaced via the partner, and they kind of feel, oh, I see some obstacles in the way and there are barriers that I need to remove. And to them, I kind of, in some cases, for example, I would certainly say to them, keep your data clean and
right.
decluttered so
Mm,
that you've got that foundation. That foundation has already been laid. It's now, up to you to use what's, the outputs from that.
mm,
There are some others who are inherently skeptical. They will kind of feel that, oh, what's coming out of it. They will have examples of where AI has come up with the wrong answer, has come up with a very bland vanilla answer, or has come
mm.
up with something they feel is wrong. And I think it's worth sort of definitely trying to understand that and trying to explain that. And one of the key features of AI, certainly that all of the major providers of AI are heavily invested in, is explainability.
Yeah.
And I think I would like people to trust that, and I would like people to use their own intelligence to see why it came up with that answer. And I've seen a third category of people who kind of feel that maybe they're competing with AI,
Oh, that's interesting.
and they feel that, oh, it's going to supersede what they're doing, it's going to take away their job. And I have to say, in the line of work that I'm in, I haven't found very many people who feel they're competing with it. They're probably more held back by the thought that, oh, I need to lay the foundation first, and
Mm,
therefore I need to make an investment in that project before I can embark on large scale adoption of AI. I think that's possibly what I've encountered most. But certainly amongst maybe certain industries, they do feel, and sometimes, I would say rightly so, they might feel that, oh, in the creative industries, they are competing with AI.
mm,
And that's not always the case.
mm.
You can, I see, I know, I personally feel, and you can disagree with me, I don't know whether artificial intelligence, whether the word artificial is a bit of a misnomer, because it really is augmented
Yeah.
intelligence. I kind of see the use of AI in the future in kind of plugging those gaps that exist in our intelligence currently. I'm greatly heartened by the adoption of AI, certainly by all of the medical industries. How they're using it in diagnosis, how they
Mm,
are basically using AI's power in going through large amounts of data to pick up symptoms or
mm.
to pick up signals and indicators of when someone might develop a disease. And I just kind of feel that that's where it's going to get to. And in time, maybe we'll be getting to a stage where AI becomes something that's used to complement intelligence in people suffering with dementia.
Mm.
Um, That's my dream. That's what I would like to see. But yeah, certainly. Sorry, I've probably rambled on
No,
and gone
no, I
off.
think
And
absolutely not. That was absolutely perfect. And I can hear that you're sort of inspired by the possibility of AI.
I
But
definitely
you
am.
did touch on two or three groups, and this is what we want to sort of dig into in this series of, you found your on-ramp to AI, you found your AI happy place. And I've seen lots of people do this in different ways. Like someone once said, once they had someone have AI described to them like a really intelligent university student, you wouldn't dismiss them if they got a question wrong, or they just don't know anything. You would nurture it and you'd be persevere. They had sort of a mental model that they developed for AI that helped them kind of come to terms with how to use it to augment, not to replace. But you mentioned two or three different sort of in your line of work, people that are either felt competitive towards AI or they dismissed it in a certain way. Can you give me examples that you would give to them on how they might use AI in sort of partner management, or maybe even a mental model that they can use to sort of come to terms how to use AI better, so it's less of a competition and more of an assistant?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, certainly for partner management, what I used to do quite extensively is I would go through a customer's business model.
Mm,
I would input that, the synopsis, which is very easy to find, input that into AI. And I would come up with some of the use cases. And I would certainly, having spent 10 years at SAP, I would look at these use cases and go, well, hang on, this lends itself very, very well to something that SAP already provides or another
mm,
company might already provide. You could be using SAP, you could be using another provider of software. And there are so many of these use cases that still continue to be semi automated at best. And I just
right.
think that's such a missed opportunity to not be able to tap into the enormous power of AI. It's there.
Mm,
And the business, and I think the great advantage that a lot of these businesses, a lot of these customers of ERP have, let's say, is that business contextual data is there. It has
mm,
built up over the years. So you've got a great reservoir of data that you could simply tap into. And you could see, obviously take it with a pinch of salt. As you said, everybody makes mistakes. I don't know why we get so hypercritical about some of the mistakes that AI makes, and we've got terms for it, such as hallucination. But if you
mm.
think back to the software bugs that we've always lived with,
Yeah,
we used to do testing and we used to get rid of bugs,
yeah.
but we probably didn't think of them as being super sinister. Whereas anything that AI gets wrong, we sort of seem to think, oh, it's evil and it's doing this because it's a superior force that's taking over.
Yeah.
But no, I think there's a lot of opportunity that maybe business users can tap into.
So that's interesting. So your sort of on ramp would be to sort of look at what you're doing every day
Yeah.
and see what's mundane and repetitive. And it may be a task that you tried to automate in the past, but you always wanted to do, but just have another go and see what AI can do this time around.
Exactly. And I think I mean, even if it continues to be semi-manual, and I'm saying, I say that obviously with the principle and with in the very spirit of keeping the human in the loop,
Mm,
it still will be a lot faster. And you will know that actually the data coverage that it's based on is far more comprehensive than might have been humanly possible to do within a set period of time. So
mm.
yeah, I think there are huge advantages to be gained in that respect.
So when we think about that's very useful. I love the idea of keeping it simple, because often I think with AI we think of these wonderful use cases, but just go look at the use cases that are in your everyday. And I think business leaders are ever more, and I think over the next few months, going to drive this use of AI into the employee base. They're going to say you must use AI in your work because we need the efficiencies. Do you think there's a conversation back up to the leaders about how AI changes the strategy, and does there need to be an open communication? Is it a top-down thing, bottom-up, middle out? How do you think this general direction of AI needs to be nurtured?
I do. You've hit the nail on the head. I think there does need to be a conversation, and I think it kind of needs to be seen as something that's empowering to those employees because some people are more resistant to change. And I think maybe this resistance to change manifests itself in, being slightly more skeptical of AI. So I feel a lot of our leaders in big organizations kind of need to lead by example and kind of,
Mm.
have those open conversations and say, look, this is what I did. This is what it came back with. I embellished it. I corrected it. I made it better, but it did the groundwork for me. So I started from here as opposed to starting from here. And I think those are some of the conversations that need to be had. I also do feel that it's very important for governance around AI, for the
Mm.
ethical side of AI to keep up with technology. And obviously, technology moves at a blindingly high speed,
Yeah.
and governance, by its very nature, is slow. But it is slightly sluggish, isn't it?
Mm.
And it's important to have a team of people within each organization that kind of says to the people using the AI
Mm.
that you've got to be completely cognizant of the same landscape of rules that we are feeding into our AI. We do know that a lot of AI companies and a lot of, without naming any names, large language models are trained on certain, human rights and all sorts of
Mm.
regulations, which are both local, regional, and certainly, international. It's important for employees who are using the AI to be trained in all of those ethical regulations. They
Yeah.
need to be completely up to speed with all aspects of compliance so that they can catch out anything that's not right. Not that they will have to, but I think it's important for both levels of intelligence, human intelligence and augmented stroke artificial intelligence, to be at par with the compliance regulations around
I
it.
like that. Do you see that as part of sort of creating a safe space for AI within an organization?
I think that's what AI will need, that safe space
Yeah.
to build trust with its own users. I think what AI has done fantastically well over the last sort of 6 years, I would say, is it's kind of made rapid advances and shown how it can, go far outpace us in many respects. But what it hasn't done so well is, build trust. And that's where we need to say that human endeavor is going to be helped, aided and abetted by this stream of intelligence. And it's not going to be held back. But you're right. Yeah, I think to answer your question, yes,
It's a safe space.
a safe space.
Very interesting. Thank you for sharing. Is there one tip that you would give people that are in your sort of line of business on how they could either get into AI, get motivated by AI? Maybe it's a tool. Is there one thing that you'd like them to take away from today's session?
I feel that, inertia is a powerful force. And I think businesses need to wake up to the fact that they're going to be outpaced by others who are being early adopters, who are, I mean, it's possibly not even early anymore. So you need to adopt and adapt
Mm.
AI to your business needs. You kind of need to look at the assets you already have. And I will say to most businesses that they've already built up an enormous asset of data.
Mm.
Keep it clean and start putting in those measures and start leading by example if you're at the top, and also making sure that the compliance aspect of it is something that is very, very widely embraced, and that's what really helps to build trust. So I would
Mm.
say, get out there and start using it. There's nothing to lose.
I think that's a perfect way to end our conversation here. Thank you so much for coming in today. As always, an absolute pleasure talking to you about AI. For those of you that are watching, we will be continuing this series. I think hopefully you took a lot away from today's conversation. I love the term inertia. I think what a wonderful way to describe it. Leading by example, and finding a safe space for AI. They were sort of the top things that I took away from today. And thank you so much for coming. And we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one.
Thank you, Matthew. As always, every time I speak with you, I learn something and I take something away. So thank you so very much for having me here.
Pleasure. Thank you.